Hi, my name is Bernard Pucher, and welcome to CenterFrame's Make It Short, which is a show where we give constructive feedback to filmmakers from all around the world. Joining me is my co-host, Diogo Brugman. He is a Brazilian journalist and critic. And what do you have in store for us today?
Today, we're going to continue talking about animated short films. Just like the last episode, we had two animated films to talk about. Today, we're going to have three more. And again, animation is wide canvas. We can have different types of stories. And today, we're going to have three very different animated films to discuss.
Nice. And we have our first female animated director that we
Yeah.
have joining us a bit later. But joining me now is David Friedman, writer, director, songwriter.
Occasional songwriter.
Okay, look, I've heard you write songs. They're really good. We worked on a feature film for a few years now that we've been trying to get off the ground. But also, I remember us developing a musical together for a brief period, which you were trying to get off the ground. Something with a singing horse, which was great.
I've sold it now.
Yeah, have you?
Yeah, it's sold. It's moving along. Everything.
That was a great project. I love that project. Like, it's a shame that I couldn't be a part of that. But hey, look, times move on.
Films take ages.
Yes,
they just take ages.
And actually, something that I forgot to mention in our last episode is that you were nominated for an Annie Award in 2018.
That's because somebody at Studio Ghibli was very kind to me and said, "You've done so much work on this that you deserve a shared credit on this."
All right, well, let's turn to our first film. Diogo, what is it?
Well, the first film is called Legend Has It, which is only 2 minutes long. It's very short, it's very concise. There's everything there, and it's directed by Lainey Davidson. It's one of those films that has everything a short film should have. It's visually very interesting. The animation is gorgeous, and we do have a story there. We have, a counselor in a camp counselor trying to spook the kids that are camping with her with a horror story. So here I think we have a mix of horror and comedy, much more comedy than horror, but we do have a sea monster that it's shape shifting throughout the story. So I think this is one of the most interesting aspects of this very, very short film.
I love it too because what I love is that it's kind of a what do you call it, like a realization of how a story ideas changes everything that you do. You know what I mean? So basically,
Meta.
Exactly, it's very meta, but it's like a recreate. Like if your story could physically change every time you change something in your story, that's exactly what would happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I love the idea of that how directly how direct the effect is of the story that she tells and how it manifests. That's the word I was looking for. If it were to manifest itself in real life, what would change? And I think that's great. I think the only film I could sort of compare it to, like, thematically on that level, is a film called Stranger Than Fiction from a few years ago, where Emma Thompson writes a story, and in real life that character that she writes about exists, and he hears her narration in his head,
Right.
And his life is affected by her narration. And it's great, very, very metatextual film. What's your favorite part of Lainey's short film? What would you say?
Well, first of all, I think it proves that female directors, there should be more of them.
I agree.
Because she's in complete control of every aspect of that film. Clearly, from the design to creating the world to, again, homage and a tribute and a salute to the monster from the Black Lagoon, and it's adorable, and it has a good punchline, of course, because
It's a very good punchline.
as we were saying, if you're in for a short film, you kind of want a punchline.
But it's
to
more than
satisfy.
just a punchline. Like, it's a proper sort of comeuppance. You know what I mean? Like, it's thematically.
Ooh, justice.
Yeah, exactly. It's more than just a simple punchline.
Wait,
like
Diogo, did you see justice going on in there?
I saw justice being served. Yes, I did.
Absolutely.
She deserved it.
Completely. Yeah. All right. Actually, let's talk to Lainey because I'd love to learn more about this. All right, Lainey, thank you very much for joining our show. I appreciate you coming down. Where are you hailing from? Where are you coming from?
I'm in South Carolina right now.
Nice.
Sunny Charleston.
It's been ages since I've been to Charleston. How's everything down there?
Oh, it's great. It's great. Spring is very short. It just gets hot fast, which is now, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah, no, seriously. So hey, thank you for letting us show your film. I highly recommend you check it out. It's on the CenterFrame page below. It will also have the link on the YouTube channel if you haven't seen it. But I really, really have to congratulate you on the film. All of us here really, really enjoyed it. And I have to say, having gone to many camps in the past, definitely could relate to the idea of the camp counselor trying to scare you. So
Yeah.
is that where the whole story came from?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, did you relate to like the mean camp counselor or the annoying kids? Because I've been both.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, I love summer camp too. Like I went all growing up. It was such a magical time. Like you kind of got to do some adulting, be by yourself. And scary stories were like my favorite part, and some of the times that still stick with me. Like that little, it's like it's fun. You like it's fun to be a little bit scared. That line between being horrified and just being at the edge of your seat, being in it. So I knew I wanted to play around with that like sweet spot.
Nice. So how did you get into storytelling, by the way? How did that come about?
I've always loved animation, film. I never remember when I like wasn't obsessed with filmmaking. I guess one of those people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm sure you guys can relate.
Yeah. And are you still working in animation?
Sort of, not really. I am designing toys right now with Hasbro, which I always, I wanted to go into the animation field, but it's a lot. As I'm sure we'll talk about. It was, I did all aspects of this film, and I really learned, I really connected with the modeling part, as opposed to some like, storyboarding or filmmaking in general, where you're like working and far off, you could get to reap the benefits. The modeling part was a little bit more concrete of like, I'm making a thing, it's pretty, it's done. Let's make another thing. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm in right now.
Nice. So how did this story then come about, especially the making of it? Could you tell us what your process was getting it made?
Yes, so this was made as my senior thesis with the computer animation program at Ringling College of Art and Design. And I have to say, like, they held my, like, I still did, I did all the work, I did a lot of work, but in terms of production planning and ideating and just the whole process of, getting it done, it was really essential to have that structure. Like I actually did do a film in high school as well, so I can't say it's the only film I've done, but I really, as of now, I don't think I could like hop back into making another one without some sort of structure or studio or team.
Yeah, and
was
it
a very
costs
tough-
money, and Ringling is like a great school and has tons of resources, and it's and
Oh,
great teachers.
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, the computer animation program, or CA as we call it, is like a fortress. Like it's very small and intense, and lots and lots and lots of crit. They you have to learn to not take it personally, and to if your film gets obliterated, to just pick up the pieces and keep going. But I really appreciate that, because it kind of makes you defend. If your idea gets questioned and you defend it, it makes it so much stronger. Because initially, this film was a two-person film, and I was started making it with a partner, and we were friends. We were like, oh yeah, we both went to summer camp. Both have these memories. Like, let's make film together. And it ended up kind of having to choose between being friends or like being filmmaking partners,
Oh
because
my God! Wow.
it's pretty taxing. Like it's just it's
Were
community.
the arguments big arguments, or were they about like how many fingers should the character have?
Yeah, just like having to hold someone accountable to work as much as you, I would just kind of feel like an asshole. And I think if the other person took a break, you would feel annoyed, but then sometimes you need to it's too much for you. And so there's just that like tension in communication, where ultimately I was like, I would rather kind of go it alone. But it had to change the film. Like, so the film was initially very different. It was about two campers fighting, and one was kind of the mean one, and it just had a very different dynamic. So we did a pass of that film like that, and then when we kind of split separate ways, a lot of my professors were like, you can't do it, this is only a two-person thing, like you have to, I think this is going to work. So I really had to put my nose to the grindstone and like, let me give you options, like let me figure this out. and having it being questioned and having it sort of being told no made me put that much more effort to get back and make it work.
Can I say, Lainey, as a human being, you've just earned our respect for choosing friendship over killing each other at work.
Yeah, completely. I mean, it's hard working with your friends, like there's a certain sort of discipline that being friends requires, but also working together requires.
There's 2 rules.
What's that?
Never work with friends, only work with friends. So
yeah, I mean, I always find I like working with friends, but we need to have a clear understanding of who does what, and
Totally.
and that somebody's in charge and it's somebody's project, and that hierarchy needs to be respected despite the friendship, and I think and without being and that's hard to do when there's no money or when there's no any of that. Like you want to be an equal, and that's where student films can get really tricky. But somebody has to be in charge. It is a hierarchical project, even when you are collaborators,
and even when there's money. I think when there is money and you're doing stuff, I think the best structure that I've experienced tends to be it's everybody's opinion counts. But one person is going to pretend it was his idea.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't saying that in a patriarchal way. It could be everyone's pretending it's her idea.
Yeah.
But there is this. No, in fact, it's. I've worked with fantastically magnanimous people, and we just, in fact, they're all friends, and in fact, I think everybody that I work with,
we said animators are friendly.
Yeah, well, everybody in animation is nice, and
if they're not nice, they don't stick around.
No, they don't.
As animators, we have to get joy where we can.
Yeah, that's true. Little victories.
Exactly. I've had the most, I didn't end up working as a partner with her, but there was still such a camaraderie. Or even though I was working on my own film, the great thing about Ringling was like, we call it like we're all in the trenches together. So just having that, like going to the lobby and opening a meme and like you're so sleep deprived that meme just makes you cry and you buckle down. Like I love moments like that, or just internet rabbit holes with the people that you're working with. You gotta find joy where you can.
Absolutely, because it's such a long slog. I mean, we had this.
How long did it take? That's what I want to know.
Oh, the film. It was like a 1.5-year process. Yeah, I started working on it like winter break of. God, I'm gonna get my years confused, but winter break of 1 year, and the next semester was all storyboarding. Really hashing that out. Ringling does focus on story in a great way, where like that's the building blocks. If that's not there, like you can make it as pretty as you want, and it's not going to do anything. So then throughout the summer and the entire next year was production.
Right. Wow. For 2 minutes. Like that's the thing that always boggles my mind is the time scales in animation are so different, because I'm primarily in live action, so like I'm used to a short production period, reasonably long post, reasonably long development depending, but like when you're making the film, this is the period that it can take, and it's not that long. But in animation, everything just seems to just take ages.
We're gourmet chefs.
Oh, is that what it is?
The truth is, we are making the same decisions and asking the same questions that your actors ask on set, that your lighting guy asks on set. That the writer who's not allowed to visit the set is also asking. So I think you would say that you have to go, well, if I was this kid, what would I say? If I was this girl, what's my tone of voice? On this line, why did I just say that? And instead of your actor asking it, it's us being really, really neurotic, which is why the scripts take so long.
But over everything, right? Like including the trees and blah blah blah.
Yeah, because by the time you get your layout guys in and you start really knuckling down, and your actors have to read the lines.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
So you've asked all those questions ahead of time.
That's funny. I do not consider myself an actor. I've worked in some student films that I like, so you can't show me, like, so bad. But with animation, you have to act every single character for reference. And the funny thing is the counselor, like, even it was still hard to kind of get out of my shell and be silly and go off. But for her, the animations, I fell into her pretty easily. Like I could do like a, a bitchy little hair flip and like go off. But the kids though, it was so hard to like, oh, I'm a scared kid. And yeah, I was, and the monster especially, I'm like, okay, how would a monster act? And even just the body mechanics, I had to act out all the parts. So yeah, animation, you really have to, I mean, with actors, you try on a bunch of different roles too, but I felt like I was wearing every single hat for the acting.
Diogo, would you like to ask us something?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. The first one is about the voice casting that you just mentioned. Like how many people are involved? Is like do you have did you go looking for people, or is like people from college that helped you in this process? How was that?
Yeah, I got incredibly lucky. During pre-production, I did all the voices for just putting in the slot, and then with voice acting, I knew I had to really nail down Hallie, the camp counselor, and so I used an app or a website. I forgot exactly which one, and got like 90 auditions. So I was like sorting through all of them, and one of them, Natalie, I really want to credit her, Natalie Rickman, I think. I might be getting last name slightly wrong, but she was actually, the voice acting response was written by her mom. It was like, my daughter is an actual teenager. And I don't know if it was just that. I mean, she's an amazing, amazing actor, but there was something like that totally like clicked more than any of the other ones. And so yeah, she's a professional voice actor. And we had a studio session with her, and her mom was in it too. She's a coach. And it was, I mean, her mom is like used to coaching her. So I kind of would be word vomiting, like, oh, I kind of want you to be a little bit more. And the mom would be like, Natalie, do this. And she would give the most amazing performance. So I was, initially hired her for just Hallie, but then she started reading the girls just for synchronicity or something, just to fill filler. Read it. And I was like, that sounds amazing. You can do all these voices. Can you do the girls? And so she did every single character.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Great.
Incredible.
Yeah, and then all of them sound very distinct and very good. Like, congrats on finding her.
I know. Like all of a sudden she's Timmy Turner, and then she's like a mean girl, and then so shy. Like it was crazy.
Okay,
yeah, I mean,
good.
that's really awesome.
I hope the experience didn't put you off ever making a film again.
I've kind of been thinking about that lately because, right now I'm not working in animation. I kind of do want to eventually, but it's some people, they go to their film and they're constantly making stuff and they've been producing since graduation, and I've been taking a step back. Like for example, this film was inspired by camping, but I never could like go camping or go outdoors while I was making it because I was so busy. So I just went camping a couple weeks ago. I'm living life. This film was almost like Mount Everest. I climbed it and I was like, I did that. And I don't have a huge urge to go climb another mountain right away.
Well, and also you're designing toys and modeling toys, and which is a great biz to be in as well.
I have one last question, and then we'll have to move on. If you could change something about your film, if you had the opportunity to change something, anything, would you? Is there anything you'd like to go back and say, if I could only?
If you asked me that question right after I had to submit it, I would have given you a laundry list. But I really tried to just accept it where it is and say, I gave a year of my life on this, and I made it, and it's done. And so I think I've just completely blocked out that laundry list for my own mental health.
Good for you. I think you answered the question correctly. And can I ask you another question? So on your modeling work that you do now, are you doing sculpts? Like,
yes.
Or are you doing CG kind of sculpts? Are you doing things that are big that get reduced down so the toys then come out little? How are you doing it? Yeah,
right now it is all sculpting. Yeah, for toys, as I mentioned, it's all in ZBrush, so gray models, not rendered. And a lot of it is for like minis for games and action figures. The minis are fun because you get to sculpt the full thing and not have to articulate it in like a T-pose. You got to actually like make a full character. But yes, it is all sculpting.
Well, Lainey, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for sharing your film with us. We really, really appreciate it, and thank you for sharing the process. And good
She's
luck.
talented and nice.
Yeah, I know it's awesome. Yeah.
So are you guys. Feel the same way. It's a huge honor to be here.
We do hope you make another film. We're rooting for you, and
Thank you.
And if you do, please send it to us. We got
will.
shockingly few.
I want her to make just tons of toys, tons of maquettes,
Okay, but
tons of designs for film.
I want movies.
But then she's going to go to Alaska. And she's going to have great experiences.
Why not both? Maybe I'll make some
exactly.
toys and move them around.
It's make a movie called Toy Story.
It's really interesting idea.
That's a great idea, right? All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And good luck. And if you do make another film, please do. And send it to us.
She will.
All right. Thank y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
What a lovely person.
She's so cool.
Just a great person. You know, I'm glad she devoted her time to it. It's clearly a lot of work. And it's a really good film. Anybody who hasn't watched it yet, go watch the link. It's great. Share it with other people. It's awesome. So I have nothing much else to say about it. It's fantastic.
I feel like we've all learned a lesson about work-life balance.
I think we should learn more of these lessons. And this is where I think film production. I don't know where animation sits on like crunches and stuff like that, but in production, work-life balance, especially with the amount of work hours they put on film productions in America, is particularly bad. That needs to be addressed drastically, and I'm glad she took the step back when she wanted to take the step back. And I think film crews need to do more of that as well, and say, look, guys, this is too much. We can't do 12, 13-hour days, you know, and the film world is particularly bad about that. Anyways.
16, 18-hour days.
Yeah. I mean, but that's just the filming, and then you have the travel and whatever else, you know. So, all right, next film, Diogo, what do you got?
Okay, now I got a film called Toy Unemployed, which is directed by Jake Savard. It's an animated film. It's a very familiar animated film. We were just talking about toys. Now we're talking, exactly. and now we have a film about toys. The premise is very similar to a very huge franchise that we know about. And here, I think the most interesting aspect to me that I thought, well, I have to bring this film with me to discuss in one episode is because I love the characters. I didn't fall in love with the story itself because, as we said, it's very familiar here. But the characters are really appealing, and they're really, you know, I like the voice of all of those characters and their dynamics. So it would be very nice to see those toys, which is like a teddy bear and a doll, like a Barbie doll or something, in different adventures. I would really enjoy watching more stories with those characters. But here, they are just toys being forgotten by the owners, by the owner, which is like a teenager, which is in love with technology.
I think I agree with you. The strength of it is are the characters, but for me, the real strength is sort of it's a sort of meta-textual commentary, because I think it's deliberately a spoof on Toy Story.
Yeah,
I think the teddy bear is deliberately a spoof on Ted. So this is clearly making a statement about films as a whole, and there's a moment in the middle where it talks about exactly that. You know, I wish I don't know if the on the nose dialogue is intentional, because that I think that took me out of it a little bit. Is that because the dialogue is very clearly sort of just stating how the characters feel, but that could have been intentional as well, because of the aesthetic of the film and stuff like that. It could
we'll find out.
You know, but I think that's for me sort of this biggest strength of it, is that it is sort of this metatextual commentary on animated films, especially big projects and big animation films, which you have some experience with.
Yeah. It's I thought it was cute. It's funny. Mm-hmm. It's funny, and I know you guys are like, oh, I'm always too nice. The only thing with this film was, at one point I was like, okay, it's taken 10 seconds longer than it needs to, because now I can see the punchline coming.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's all. I just would have trimmed a tiny bit out, because also it was funny, and I think the creator went, I got so many funny things, I'm gonna put them all in. And I think they didn't have to. They could have. I agree. Sometimes if you take out one funny thing, the other thing, it gets funny.
Yeah, I agree. I think
a joke.
It could have definitely been leaner.
But that's okay, because again, they did it. They made it. They got it done. And also,
Yeah.
it's still a good punchline. It's you know, even if you saw it coming.
Let's speak to Jake and see what his intentions really were.
Yeah.
All right, Jake. Jake Savard joining us from Montreal. Thank you for sending your film to us. Tell me how the idea for the film came about.
Well, Toy Unemployed was a film that I put together for my final year of my film animation program at Concordia University. And I was a month late to the party. Originally, I was going to make something completely different. It proved to be too ambitious for the time I had, so I had to scramble to put another film together in maybe half the time to make for the rest of the year. And the inspiration sort of just came to me when I was taking a long bus ride back home for the holidays and saw a little girl just hugging her teddy bear. And I sketched some characters on that bus ride, made a story about, you know, what these toys could do once their owners outgrow them, and came back to school later on with a full script on the ready. As far as the theming behind it is concerned, I mean, I was mostly, it just kind of came to me. I guess the futility of life is something we can all relate to in some morbid way, but it's mostly just broadening your horizons, looking for options, and without forgetting where you came from or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I really like that. That part was definitely one of my favorite parts. Is the idea when they were actually just trying to figure out what to do next. That was because it's interesting. I want to ask you about the aesthetic of the film, because you took a very sort of childlike aesthetic for it, and I was wondering where that came from and why you decided to go down that route.
It's easier to animate. I mean, the prerequisite for the film, for the class, was that the film had to be around 3 minutes, and Toy Unemployed is around 5. I always end up writing more than is required, and to compensate, I go for a simpler style to actually get it all done in time. But it happened to line up well with the simplistic, as you said, childlike design of the film. The way I animate as well, simpler designs just means that you're able to get more done faster and put more of what you had in your brain onto the table.
So did the actors improvise at all, or that's all your scripting?
That's all my scripting. I'm very meticulous about my writing and my timing as well. The timing of the film had to be just so, because I would not accept anything else. I'm trying to think if I improvised anything, because I was the voice of the teddy bear. I usually voice my own films, so this was a first in that I was directing other actors to put this film together as well.
Yeah,
because it feels very improvised. It feels, there's tons of energy there.
Yeah, it feels very, very natural. And then on the same note, I think that there is a good connection. I love the characters. I love the film as a whole, but the characters were really the highlight of the short film to me. And I was wondering if I went to your YouTube channel and I checked some other animations that you do, and I don't remember seeing those characters in other films. Are they in other films? Do you work with them in other films, or this is the only?
So far, this is one and done.
Okay, but do you have any plans on having them in other? Because I will sure follow them.
This is the first time I've been asked if more films with these characters are coming. So you know what? I'll consider it, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, you should. I mean, because they're good fun. One thing I mentioned before you joined.
I want to see them hit the road. They're nihilistic. They're sick of the world.
You joke, but I feel like that was an idea for one of the endings I came up with for the film, because it went through a bunch of different endings before I ended up with the one I had. And I came up with this one for a reason, but I think one of the endings was they just up and leave and they hitchhike and take a bus somewhere, and that's the end of the film. But
No, I mean, one thing I really liked about, and I mentioned this in the before you joined the call, is I like the meta sort of textual nature of it, because obviously the teddy bear looks a bit like Ted, and obviously it's Toy Story, and there's a lot of sort of criticism of like these big animation projects. I want to like hear a bit more from you as to where your stance is on that, and what you were trying to sort of get across.
Well, this film was scripted before Toy Story 4 came out. So in hindsight, after watching that, I thought, well, it's still a good film. Did it need to exist? Maybe not, but it's still a good film. And, you know, that is kind of my stance on it. I ragged on the franchise a bit for refusing to stay dead, but really at the end of the day, as long as what's being put out there is still good, I don't mind if something goes on forever.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
The only thing I said that, and the only, because we're here to give constructive advice, and what I said before you came on the call. So I'm nice and kind, and I'm kind and nice to everyone, because just making a short film is such an accomplishment, and it is an incredible. And my first short film made the world go blind before they ever see it again. But it was, just to get it done. The only thing I would say, and one of the things I've learned over time is, you're very funny, and there's tons of funny stuff going on in there. And at one point I just felt like if you took a little bit out, like 10 seconds out, I wouldn't have seen the ending coming. And that's, and I think sometimes, often, I work with a great guy, Gareth Edwards. He's one of the best comedy producers in the UK ever, and he's also a tremendous comedy writer. And he just said, they're just jokes. They're just jokes. We can cut a joke. We can write another joke. We can always write another joke. And he says also, cut a joke. And the one that's left in, gets all the attention. And I think that you a few too many jokes. Like,
that's an interesting point. So when you say you didn't see the ending coming, are you talking about the blackout, or are you talking about after the blackout ends?
When she goes in, she's just looking for the plug. She's just gonna completely ignore you. You go, okay, maybe there's Toy Story hope. Oh no, of course, she's only wants the plug.
Okay, I think the original script was like 7 minutes or something like that, and I had already cut so much. There was a whole third character that was cut from the film, because I realized that he adds like nothing to the story. It was just a little rubber duck that responds only in like 1 second interjections. And I thought, okay, that's moderately funny. Does it add anything? No, just take it out.
If I had anything to say myself, really, it's some of the opening lines that describe the characters, where the characters talk about themselves and how they feel.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff was very sort of a direct expression of how they feel. It's like, I am sad, or I am not, or this and that. And I don't know if you were intentionally going for that, or if that was a criticism of something, or if that was, or if you weren't sure how to show it. But I think more of an emphasis of the characters actually behaving scared rather than saying I am scared, or I am this.
Do you ever look at the moon?
Yeah, exactly. so emphasizing on their actions and their behavior rather than saying how they feel would enrich your characters even more. And I think that's only really in the setup, because after it works fine. Like everything after your initial setup to set up the character in the situation, that's the only time where that comes across a little awkward. But the rest of the time, it's great.
Yeah, in the moment, I thought it was fine, but even looking back on it, I'm proud of this film. But I agree that was something that if I could go back and do it again, I'd find another way. I don't know what, but I'd find another way.
Great.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was wonderful meeting you all. You take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Another nice guy, and and I have to say, like, one of the things we're trying to achieve with this show is to both give and receive constructive feedback, and it's so hard. It's like I firmly believe that getting feedback is as much as an acquired skill as giving feedback, because and like Lainey said earlier, like it's hard. It feels personal when you get it, but with time and with experience and everything, it's you learn how to not take it personally and see it as the valuable information that it is. Right. Even if the feedback itself can be, okay, I don't understand what they meant, blah, but there's always something you can learn from a piece of feedback.
In fairness though, mm-hmm. I take all notes personally, for 24 hours, and then I get over it.
But we have one more film to go.
Here we go.
We do.
What film is that?
Yeah, it's called Villain. It's a film directed by Tomislav Stašina. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but I didn't. It's a very short animated short film. It's very short. It's only 36 seconds, and it follows the story of a very ambitious small robot that wants to take over the entire world. It has like the Pinky and the Brain kind of vibe. It reminded me of that. And then it's while the short duration can always be a disadvantage, because you have to tell a story in a very like a half a minute. At the same time, I think there is a story there. There's some potential there to maybe to be developed into something bigger. Although there are some flaws, even in this story, because of course, it's a tricky film in most aspects. But I think I brought it here today because I think there's a lot of potential, and I think it should be discussed today.
I really love this film. I think it missed a slight trick at the end, but as a film, I think I love the design of the robot. I was thinking initially it's like a webcam that's become self-aware, or something like that, But it reminded me of the Pixar lamp, It reminded me of that. And then of course, what if that Pixar lamp becomes self-aware and wants to take over the world and turns into an evil robot with these massive delusions of grandeur? I think it's brilliant. I love that part. I think it only missed a trick on the joke at the end, where the joke should have been visual as opposed to a line. You know what I mean? And I think that's
because the only thing you were missing is he traveled so far that he pulled his own socket out.
Exactly.
So that's the joke. Just that one shot of it pulling the socket out is missing. However, I'm going to say this, and you've done ads, I've done ads.
Yeah.
A 30-second ad is microsurgery, and every frame counts.
Yeah.
So he gets more points. This chap, let's bring him on.
For doing something in 30 seconds.
For doing something in 30 seconds. Okay, he missed that one.
That's it, but that's its only weakness. Everything else I love.
But you also forgive it. You go,
yeah.
Oh, what? Like a millisecond after you go, oh, it went too far. Pulled the plug.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk to him. Let's figure it out. All right, Tomislav, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for sending us your film Villain, which I really, really appreciate. And we had quite the blast watching it. It was great to watch something that's genuinely short, like 30 seconds, no holds barred, straight to the point. I think we all fell in love with that quite a bit. So tell us a bit how you came up with the idea and what it took to get the project done.
So I work as a 3D artist, but not in the entertainment industry. And from time to time, I love to have some personal project to keep my love for it going, because job can sometimes squeeze that out of you. And I created the robots to actually practice that hard surface modeling a little bit. And then that robot sat on my computer for a couple of months. He was forgotten. And then actually I got idea to create TikTok channel with that robot as a main character.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And the main premise was that he was that great villain. He wanted to take over the world. He wanted to be the big bad guy. But unfortunately, he's small and he's not really well developed, and he's not really capable. So he cannot really do anything. Nobody takes him seriously, and then makes him frustrated. And that was kind of premise. But since it was my personal project, and I had also the full-time job, and I had family, and I had obligations at home, so I realized I cannot really take that amount of my time, especially because on the TikTok you have to produce a lot of content really quickly. So I decided to take that idea for the channel and to make one video out of it. And I made the video during my Christmas vacation last year. So that was I had a little time for myself, so I decided to invest that time and to bring that idea to life.
Nice, that's really cool. I like the idea that you like thought of really short form for like from the get go. You know, rather than overthinking it and doing something completely enormous, just sticking to the very very tight format. I really love that. Diogo, you had some interesting comments about what the film reminded you of an old show.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, it reminded me of the Pinky and the Brain. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that, or if that was an inspiration from the beginning, or if you had any other inspiration, can you share with us?
Pinky and the Brain was not inspiration, but now when you mentioned it, I can see a lot of parallels. So the core idea is basically the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we love Pinky and the Brain. It's an absolutely amazing show.
But also, just in general, the people, anybody who goes into politics should be disbarred from going into politics. You know, they should be. So, you know, the sort of people who want to take over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume it's more that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Was it, Tomislav?
I'm glad if someone who sees the movie can extract some bigger message from it. To me, I was going more from angle of I realized that in the older cartoons, animators had that really unhealthy relationship with the characters, and they would basically bully the characters in different situations, and that's something I don't really see anymore in animation. I think it's quite fun.
You mean like Tom
If I
and
can
Jerry
say
and
it
stuff?
like that. Yeah, exactly. So that was starting point from my perspective. But regarding politics, regarding people craving for power, I agree with you 100%. So maybe it's possible that subconsciously some of that ideas were reflected on the video as well.
So what is the future for the villain? What are you thinking of doing with it?
Well, at the moment, villain still has empty battery, and maybe I will recharge him when my personal schedule becomes a little bit more
Basically,
clear.
next Christmas.
See, but this is when a battery is not included. But you know, you can you just ask Elon Musk. He has enough electricity.
The only thing that I would say that we said before you came online, we were all, and having all worked on commercials, you know, 30 seconds is harder than 5, then is harder than 10, is harder than, you know, it's hard. It's microsurgery. But we all said, we just wish there was one shot where his plug, he goes too far and he, just a cutaway to show it pulling out of the plug. But that's a detail. That's just a tiny detail. Do you feel that, or did we just say something and now you're like, no?
Maybe in the Villain 2, the Villain Returns.
No,
Somebody accidentally plugs him back in.
Yeah.
Goes, all right.
No, I think for your TikTok channel, if I may make a recommendation, I think what you could do for a TikTok channel that could speed up your content process for quite a bit is to think of him like a Hal. You know, so you basically if he could talk into a webcam, if he could sit in front of a computer and talk into a webcam vertically, and you have the
what
eye,
you're saying is you just nothing to animate.
as little as possible. You know what I mean? Basically, he already has a glowing blue light.
That's true.
You know, he changes color when he's in a different mood. You know, and so you can vary the content. You can have him rant about current affairs, whatever it is. You know, and you can focus on the writing only. And I think that would help just writing more character stuff, and as you go, just do that. So yeah, anyways, this was my own little sort of creative machinery working silly here, but I really want to thank you for sending us your film. We truly enjoyed it, and please send us your next film. And if you do make a TikTok channel after this and actually do more with it, send it to us. I'll review each and every one of those videos. I'd love to hear more. I really would.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Also,
very
thank
much.
you, for the good talk, for the feedback, and actually now I have motivation to bring
That's
the
all I
little
wanna-
robot back to life.
That's great to hear. I
Good.
love that. Awesome.
Great.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm
So
back.
Diogo, seriously, what a selection of films, man. You did a really,
Good,
really good
yeah.
job picking these.
Thank you. I'm really happy because when I was watching them, I was, there are so many interesting films, and I wanted more. I wanted like a female filmmaker, so I did some research, and then, I think we had a blast.
Yeah, I had a blast too. How about you, David?
Yeah.
You've done it twice now with us, so this is really cool.
Yeah.
So, but you told me when I emailed you, when I asked you, I was like, oh, you want me to sit down and watch animation films and talk about them? I can.
It's the easiest thing in the world.
I can do that forever. Well, thanks very much for tuning in. It was such a great time hanging out with you again. We haven't done it in a little while, but it's just been great. Check out David Friedman's Instagram. Check out Diogo Brugman's article on CenterFrame.com, but also on his personal work. It's always great doing these shows. Please send us more of your work. Go to CenterFrame.com, sign up to our newsletter, join our social media, join the conversation, and please send us your films. We want to review them and give some constructive feedback if you'll let us. And this is especially calling out to female filmmakers. We've not gotten enough films from you, and we absolutely love talking about them, as well as transgender and non-binary filmmakers. Please get in touch, and we'd love to know more. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Diogo. Thank you, David. And thank you for watching.